Hi, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your questions 7 days a week. Let's go jump into the questions. Bill, what do we got?
Our first one comes from Jeremy in Massachusetts, and Jeremy says, "Hi, guys. Loyal daily watcher. Do you plan on doing a recap of notable news and or product launches from IBC? Of particular interest to me is if Sony is launching anything notable at this show. Thank you so much." Jeremy.
Jeremy, it's a really good suggestion. We should think about maybe a week later, think about having that. So we'll try to put that together for next week and see what we thought was new, kind of an omnibus. I know that we had a special last night where we talked about some new things, but I don't think it was specifically pointed at IBC. So I think that it makes sense for us to maybe just have a question about this. If you, Jeremy, ask this question next week, and between now and Monday, we'll work on making a list of the things we thought. I'll tell you the things off the top of my head is the new Nikon camera, very competitive full frame sensor. Like it's at the price that it's at, $2,200 at a full frame sensor. It might be my next webcam. so the I don't know if I would, I don't have enough gear around it to do anything with it, but it's a really, really interesting camera for that price. I think that the other thing from Sony that we saw was their tracking system. So they have a tracking system for a mere $35,000. You can track your camera's position in a set in real time. And so those are the two things that jumped out. Of course, Resolve came out with 20.2, which had a lot of minor updates, some more major updates for those of us doing immersive, but otherwise some relatively minor updates for everyone else. And so those are things that are kind of moving forward. But we'll I did see I get all these emails. I'm in the press, and so I'll dig through them and try to figure out which ones I think are that make the most difference. So, but thanks for the question. Ask it again on Monday, and we'll go from there. Next question.
Eduardo Augustine's up next in Panama City. I currently have an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO HDMI. I want to add commentators using AudioTechnica's BPHS1 headsets and allowing commentators to hear their conversation. How should I go about this with a limited 1,000, it doesn't say dollars or pounds or anything like that, but 1K budget? And he's particularly interested in the mixer and or Dante.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm assuming 1K, $1,000 US. Diving into Dante, which would always be a great choice from me, is you're going to be hard pressed to get something quality that you can do with Dante at $1,000, because remember, you're going to need to incorporate network switches in there. You're going to need interfaces on everything. So Dante, you're probably stepping up your budget a bit, which if you imagine this going farther is a great investment, but I don't think you're going to get where you want to be for $1,000 Dante. It's licensing of the chips is the big thing that ups the price on everything for Dante. Fitting in that budget, maybe look at something like an XR18. You're going to need an iPad to control it. But the nice thing about that is it does have a sort of version of an auto mixer, which you may need. You don't say how many commentators you're talking about there. And then you really want to have a good way to integrate that audio into the ATEM Mini. So that ideally is into a Pro audio XLR input on a camera, or it's a Pro audio embedder, avoiding the 1/8-inch line input. And if you're going to use the 1/8-inch line input, then you need some kind of audio conversion interface to drop you down to that consumer level. We've talked about those on here several times. I think ART is one that people like a lot, but then definitely going into a camera solves your problem with sync, because you're going in right in sync in the camera and embedding into one of those HDMIs.
One thing that might get you close, and I'm not 100% sure, is looking at the Studio Technologies announcer consoles. There's a couple announcer consoles that have multiple inputs, and they are Dante enabled. So they're going to have the chip that Jeff talked about, and this is going to be over $1,000, so I'm cheating. And then the other thing that you can get is something like this. This is what I use to get into my Mini Extreme. So this is a Dante to XLR out. This is a line out here. So I have this set up, and then I have two XLR to headphone jack. You only need one, to be honest, but going into my Mini Extreme. And so what I end up with is this is the way that I send anything from my system into my mixer via Dante. And so you could get that to a point where it would pop in. I think that, but those Studio Technologies might work. It would give the basically all the control of mixing would be given to the announcers, which may or may not be a good idea. So that would be the only issue that you'd have there. I think also you could look for things like, if you are willing to go used, the X32s have become very inexpensive with Dante cards, along with like a Cisco Catalyst, and you might be able to, with used equipment, get pretty close to being able to do that, get under $1,000. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I've tested and used those, and I use them all the time. The Audinate AVIO adapters to take Dante to a line out and then convert to 1/8 inch. Tone is your friend.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you use tone out of your mixer and you can confirm that you're not going to clip going into the input, and raise your tone all the way to the max, and it's very easy to hear clipping on tone, so that's a great thing. Remember that those are PoE only, so you will need a PoE switch to power them. There are a few other manufacturers that make units exactly like that are PoE and have a external power supply, so you can use either option.
Who makes that?
I need to look at the name for that.
Yeah, I do know some other people make them. I was like, I think between myself and Own I Know, I think we have like 30 different versions, 30 of these. I only know that because recently I was putting them all in one box, and I was like, how did we end up with so many? So these are really interesting. This is an XLR in. There's also XLR out. We also have AES in that we use for some of the stuff that we're doing for de-embedding, and then we have ones that go to USB, ones that go to Bluetooth. There's a lot of tools here that you could use for if you're trying to get Dante and move it around and hand it back to an analog system or AES system. Next question.
Next one comes to us from Hasma Kajar, Cape Town, South Africa, is on the panel today. Having a MixPre 6.2 since 2020. I've been persuaded and bought the Yamaha DM3 D. What advice can the panel provide for my head to spin into what's called stepping up my game? I have also settled on Unity, a local area network right now, as stepping up the game.
I think that, the first thing is the DM3 is a great little mixer. So I think that you're going to want to start to learn how to use some of the there's EQ, there's compression, there's a lot of things that you wouldn't normally use in your MixPre 6. So this is going to be a big jump as far as adding more features and kind of pulling the most out of the mic. So go ahead, Jeff.
I'm going to go back, which you probably already know having used the MixPre, but let's remember gain staging. Let's get our levels correct at the mic input, proper, lots of gain without hitting, too much gain that we're going to get into distortion. So gain at the mic preamp are really important in any mixer, and that's going to be really true in the Yamaha, and that's the first place to start.
Go ahead, Hasma.
Yeah, fortunately, I know a little bit more than my two sound engineers. So I'm trying to figure out how to get on. I just don't have the time to get on top of it. So I've given them the assignment to understand this. I guess the workflow from an audio point of view is going to be very different in the way you think about it. Because in a MixPre, we had the talent on mic 1, and then we had the option to speak in ear to the talent with a second mic. And all that routing and setting up was a bit painful, but with Mickey's help, I managed to achieve that. So you'll have to think differently.
You should find that this is a lot easier. Like all the routing that you were doing in the MixPre 6 is we use these sound devices boxes in a way that nobody else uses them. So we push them way harder. I remember sitting down even with I had a 788 and trying to explain to a field like a field recordist that I called Sound Devices, said I got a job in Chicago. I need someone who understands how to use a 788. And so so John Tatulis gave me a name, and I called him and I got him into the thing. I will tell you as an aside, if someone who uses Sound Devices stuff says, "Hey, where did you get my name? You just called me out of the blue," and you said, "Well, John Tatulis from Sound Devices," and his head kind of just dropped down as if someone on high had anointed him. And so, but he had no idea what we were doing. Like, I was routing through all of this stuff. So all these routing tools are really powerful, but almost no one ever uses them. And so they're and the problem is you can't see what's going on anywhere in the MixPre 6. And so you really have to be able to, or any of the Sound Devices tools. So you really have to visualize where they're all going and understand. You have to keep it in your head. This is also, by the way, why if someone asked me, would you rather have a group of audio engineers that you teach video or video engineers that you teach audio? I'm like, I want the audio guys, because they have to visualize all of this data and all these flows that they can't see. And so the advantage of having a mixer, once you have that mixer, is now you have buses, and the buses are fairly, they're fairly open. You can see the bus, push a little button, and all the motorized sliders will show you where you're at. And so that's going to make it a lot easier. Go ahead, Hosma.
Yeah, I've been asked to do hybrid events at medical school as well. So I thought this kind of mixer would be much more efficient, because I'll have to have roaming mics and lots of other workflows. So I thought this one would be easier to manage.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be way easier. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
As far as visualizing how sound can go through a mixer, most mixers worth their salt, in the back of the manual, you will find a block diagram. This is not a schematic. This is just how signal flows through there. So here in the DM3, we see the input, and it shows you things about, like, there's your preamp, that's where your gain stage is, and then you get into all the actual functions in there. And this is where you go and dive into about where you're like, where do the aux sends come from when I'm using an aux send? Is it before or after compression? Is it before or after the fader and pan? And then running down the middle, I know this will be hard to see, but you see these lines that go, those are the buses. Buses are where mixing happens. And then those buses are picked up and they go out to various places. So always, as you're trying to work through audio flow, look into that block diagram.
Next question.
Kyle Nestek comes up next from Philadelphia. Recommendations for modular stackable rack mount cases. And he's looking for 2 to 8 rack units to build separate production kits, like a playback rack, an ISO record rack, a wireless mic rack that can also be combined into one larger system.
Yeah, so the ones that we use are these. Let me just pull this up here. This is the SKB series, and you'll see these. Now, there's a couple different versions. We actually don't use this one particularly. I grabbed the wrong one here, but they pull out. So you'll see that they go into a Pelican case that we can ship, and we do ship them. And then they pop out, and then you can stack them. Now, there's a metal version of this. There's one that has the open sides, and I don't know. Let's see. I don't know how I got into the wrong one here, but I was like, oh, fly rack. So I think that they're fly racks here, but we have some that are, let me see if this is the one this might be more like the one that we have here. But here you can see different sizes, some of the larger ones. So we have some of the larger ones here. They have different depths, different heights that you can build here. And then to the side, what's nice about them is they have little feet on the top and little openings on the little feet on the top and little feet on the bottom. And you can stack them so that they don't slide around inside of there. They're a little bit lighter. It's not like putting a case in a case. I mean, I think I have another example. I can show you what we did before I did those. Let me see if I can find that real quickly here. But here's an example of ones that we used in the past. This is before we kind of moved to that. This is in Japan. And so here's these SKB cases here that were stacked on top of each other. This is what we did before, but the problem is that doesn't have as much ventilation, and these ended up being put into larger Pelican cases. So it added a lot of weight. So these fly racks will allow you to just drop them in. You can put them into a Pelican case. You can pull them out. You can stack them, and then oftentimes what we do is we take small, typically black, so that you don't stick out ratchet, a ratchet line that we run around them, and we ratchet them tight, and they'll turn into one unit. Like if you pull on them a little bit, they'll just lock together. And so oftentimes we'll have 10 8 or 10 of those that all have different missions. So there'll be the comms, there'll be the audio, there'll be the video, and those all there'll be whatever, internet. Those are all things that are broken up, and they go out with the rack. The one thing you want to be careful of is if you start using them that way with anything that you're sending out as a rack that you might be shipping. Make sure that you understand that you've built a cantilever with the gear. So you really, if you're going to actually ship it, you got to make sure that you put things in it that are going to support that gear, so that it doesn't get banged, or it doesn't start to add a lot of torque to the front, and it'll bend the ears. Ask me how I know. so anyway, so that's the thing you want to think about as you start to build those. But those have been really useful for us. There's a lot of ventilation, so if you're in an area that has a high ambient temperature, you tend to not have any extra issues around heat, because almost everything around them is open. Next question.
Jeff Cohen here on the panel from Miami Beach. Any thoughts on Zoom's new auto frame feature?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I got prompted with this new feature right before coming on to the show, and figured maybe not a good idea to enable it and try it right before the show. Chris, however, we kept on telling Jeff to do it.
I mean, if I had it on, I'd definitely turn it on. So anyway, but Chris was willing to drop out of the show. He took one for the team.
I would like to officially and very publicly apologize to JJ. JJ, I know that caused a little bit of consternation when all of a sudden Venok is out and coming back in. So please, I apologize. So yeah, I downloaded it. It's 6.60, I think. Is that what you said it was?
Yeah, 6.60.
I can't make it do anything, but I can turn it on. I was wondering. So basically,
it might be that it only works if you have a Brio that has you're in a 1080p frame inside of a.
So there's a couple thoughts. Yes to that. I actually hadn't thought of Brio. I thought, does it need? So I'm currently using an Instalink 360, which has the ability to pan and tilt and zoom and stuff like that. So I thought, but I'm actually accessing my Instalink through OBS, so that would break that communication. I did try, and I apologize if people have been seeing weird stuff happening on my camera. I did try to patch the webcam directly into Zoom, turn it on and off. And actually, I could do that right now. So if I change to my Instalink, so this is now directly my camera, not going through the OBS. And then there is a thing, auto frame my video, which is checked off.
And I saw it jump a little bit.
I think you would have to move, to your right or left to get out of frame for it to.
I don't know that this feature has been completely tested,
or that we know exactly. So the Insta360, you're looking right now. We're looking through the Insta360.
That is
camera.
correct. So it is currently on,
right,
and now it's off. So you are seeing a little bit of.
So that's when you turn it on. It's just jumping to the other because your OBS is changing the frame slightly.
No, no, actually. No, my OBS is probably, you know what? It could be changing it slightly, but not on purpose. That's just being sloppy. So, no clue.
Well, there we go. So
it might be awesome. We can't tell you.
Yeah, and maybe it also could be something that is tied. We're all guessing right now, so we'll know more in the next couple of days. It's brand new. I guess we have the Zoomtopia start tomorrow. Is that right, or today? I think today. So
tonight, yes.
Tonight, yeah. So hopefully we'll see other features that are coming out as we kind of go forward. The auto frame feature also could be something that sits inside of the Apple stuff. So anyway, and David Brady says push in closer to the camera, Chris, and it'll soft zoom out. Get closer, Chris.
That doesn't seem possible. Let's try. So I'm got to switch back to the Instalink. I'm on the direct feed to my Instalink.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, that's interesting. It keeps going to black. All right, and then I'm going to turn it on. And he's saying if I actually physically move closer.
No, it just gets scary.
We just get more Chris.
How close do I have to go, David Brady? This doesn't seem like it's working.
No. No, that didn't work at all.
Are there
Right.
people in my computer? I can't.
No.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm getting very afraid.
Who knows? So we'll keep on playing with it and with all the new features. But 6.6.0 is out as of a day or two ago, and so definitely go and download it. I'm sure there's lots of little goodies that are hidden in there. By the way, if you are just watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this later, if you're watching it right now and you're not inside of Makana, you're missing half the show. There's a great chat going on all the time. Sometimes the chat agrees with us. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it makes fun of us. There's all kinds of things that happen in the chat that you're missing. And so if you'd like to be part of the chat and part of Discord and all the other things that we do, you can go to officehours.global/join and sign up, and we'll send you an email. And from that email, you can get all the little links, and you'll start getting something every day telling you what we're talking about and who's going to be on the show. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Can I make an official request to the thumbnail team that last little scene becomes the thumbnail to this episode?
We'll work on that. That could be good. We'll probably get twice the number of viewers. They're like, whoa, what happened there? Next question.
Paul Wallace, Austin, Texas, coming up next. The curly cord on my Sony MDR-7506 is getting stretched out. What do you recommend for a replacement cord, and how do you replace it?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm looking forward to Bill's answer on this because he was like, of course, I've replaced a million of them. I've been using Sony's for 30 years, never replaced a cord. They do have replacement cords. I've replaced the ear pads a million times with a lot of different brands. I have my favorites now. But, you can just buy another set of headphones. They're less than $100.
I go, Bill.
I had exactly the same answer. They're $99, and I've had I think 10 or 12 copies. These are the ones I'm using whenever I'm on the show right now. But I also happen to I changed my pads not more than 6 or 7 months ago. So you can always tell when you can actually see the colored foam inside of that. And more importantly, when all the original kind of vinyl-y stuff is all broken up into little things and it's getting all over your ears and your face, you need to replace your pads. As to replacing cords, I just wouldn't do it. I think the first time I went in to try to do that, I opened it up, and that really micro kind of connector stuff that's almost impossible to solder? I think that's what I ran into, and I said, no, it's worth throwing another $100. I've had these, I think those lasted 7 years, and I just replaced them. That's how I got 5 pairs of them sitting around me right now. So I wouldn't do it, but that's me.
Go, Jeff.
Because you're not asking about a model that no longer is in production and that you can't get, and because you can always revert to replacing it, let's slow down and say what you should be doing, of course, is restoring your stretched cable. And I found some instructions. This involves putting in the oven. They're attached, so I wouldn't do that, but there's many videos like this that show, now I haven't tried this, but you should, in the spirit of Chris and experimentation. But basically what they do is they tightly wrap it around a dowel rod or something like that. And then the trick is taking a gentle heat gun and kind of heating it to form to recoil. So I think the only way to know if this works is for you to try it and report back your results.
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so we've talked about this, Alex, you and I, and everybody here. We've talked about fixing problems versus solving problems. So these are great ideas to solve the problem of a stretched out cord. But the real fix is to not stretch out your cord like a barbarian. So that's not what you do with headphones. So here's what happens. So I'm actually wearing the predecessor to the 7506. These are the real headphones, the V6s. This is how you put them away. You take them off, you fold them into the little compact zone. You then drop them into the bag, okay? You don't wrap the cable around the headphone like a crazy sociopath, and then you drop the cable into the bag like that. You don't wrap it around. If you see your people wrapping the cable around the headphone, I would consider firing them. You have to learn how to treat your equipment better, period.
my fix for this is to get the straight cable. So there's a straight cable that's there. So if it's worn out, because those little curly things are the devil. Like I just do not like. I grew up. Many of you are too young that are watching this. Well, not all of you that are watching this, but we used to have a phone, and the phone had that evil curly thing going onto it that would be on the wall, and then it would get all into these weird turns, and it would turn into these knots, and it would turn into like somebody's like naughty hair and look like dreads that were like hanging down from your phone. And I grew to hate, and I mean hate, curly cords. And so the first thing I do, literally I'll look at something and go, oh, that looks like something I should buy. And I look at it, it's got a curly cord. And I'm like, no, I will not. So straight cords. Then you can just do over, under, and call it a day.
I'll also say Wicked cushions are the ones that I've been buying. I don't know if you use those, Jeff, but this is what I replace on my headphones.
I bought a lovely set of blue cushions from, I think, Remote Audio for my wife. She loves them. They come in colors.
Next question.
Next question comes from Patrick Hindman in Longview, Texas. We are needing a network storage solution, something simple and easy for volunteers to use for pics, short videos, and sermon notes. 1 terabyte would be sufficient. The Blackmagic 8 terabyte Cloud Store Mini or the Cloud Pod look okay to me. Does the group have any suggestions?
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
I'm not. It's a decent device for sure. I'm not sure if this does this, but what I highly suggest is you don't give people open access to a drive like that, because mistakes happen, and then next thing you know, everything is wiped out. Something like the Synology File Station or something like that has those web interfaces that people can go to and then upload from there, and then they don't see the back end unless you need them to see the back end. Then you can control that from a specific computer. That way, once again, nobody can get into that machine and wipe out whatever just got uploaded.
Yeah, I'd probably lean into the Synology as well for this environment. So especially with volunteers, you probably just want something for them to open up and put it in rather than having direct access to the drive. So that would be, I agree with Jeffrey on that one. Next question.
Hasmuk Ajar in Cape Town, South Africa. Zoomtopia is this evening. Can we watch and chatter in after hours?
Hasmuk, you're an admin for the after hours. Yes, I think if you're willing to be there, then we're all willing to be there. So we'll see. But that sounds like a good plan.
Is there a time check for this?
When does it start?
In a couple hours.
Oh, it starts in a couple hours?
Yeah, 10 a.m. Pacific.
Oh, wow. So it's not it's this evening for Hasmuk.
That's right.
This evening for us. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully the good announcements, otherwise known as the broadcast announcements, will come first, and we don't have to watch all the Brussels sprouts before that. I don't have any, there's nothing else that Zoom has that I'm interested in other than what are the new broadcast tools. Yeah, go ahead, Hasmuk.
And home office is away, so I can most certainly manage that.
Very good, very good. So 10 o'clock this morning, we'll have some folks jumping into after hours and playing with it. I have so many meetings today, I probably won't be able to be there, but definitely jump into after hours later today or later this morning, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and watch. I think it's all virtual. There's no there's nothing
all online.
And
online.
I think it's all recorded. I don't think there's anything that's live. But let us know. We'll talk about it. What we should do, Hasmuk, if you're open to it, is come back tomorrow and tell us how it was. Give us a feedback of how was Zoomtopia all virtual. This is their first all virtual one, which makes a lot of sense. It was always a little crazy I thought, for Zoom to do a big physical event when they are a cloud company. So I don't know we'll see how the cloud activation works, but I think that it makes a lot of sense for them to do it in the cloud, at least some of it, if not all of it. So it'll be interesting to see how my big question is, are they going to use virtual backgrounds? Because I'm going to take 3 points off of their score if they use virtual backgrounds. Next question.
Eduardo Augustine, Panama City. Been using spacecommz for the past year. For me, this tool works well, but my camera ops complain they need to use a phone and the caveats with it. So I'm replacing intercoms to Solidcom SE Pro. Can I connect this to spacecommz?
So I guess the question is, so you're replacing your intercoms to Solidcom, but they need to use their phone. Oh, they need to use their, I was like, I thought they need to use their phone for comms. I haven't had a lot of experience with the Solidcoms. The ones that I have the most experience with are obviously the Clearcom FreeSpeaks are probably, I used to own a couple systems of those, and so I know those really well. Riedel, of course, we see a fair bit in production, so those are the ones that we're familiar with. On the less expensive side, the ones that we've seen the most across the system are the Hollylands, and some of the first version of the Hollylands was a complete disaster, but the second version we've seen them used in some. I just watched them get used for. It wasn't my system, but there was another team there, and they were using the second generation of the Hollylands, and it was a pretty congested environment, and they were going hundreds of feet, and they seemed to be doing pretty well. If they got too far away, they had a little bit of trouble, but so that the Hollylands, I think, are probably the next step down under Clearcom. So I would say that Riedel's probably the most robust, and then I would say that FreeSpeak is probably the second one that I'd look at, and I think RTS makes something. I literally don't have any interaction with RTS. We've said this before, but if you come from trucks, you use use the RTS. If you come from events, you use Clearcom, and if you come from money, you use Riedel. But the Hollylands are the ones that we see that are less expensive than the really inexpensive ones that are in one room. So I was introduced to them. I thought it would be crazy, but they actually worked. If you're in one room and you just have a couple operators and you're all just trying to figure something out, and I'm talking like a 30 by 30 room, the team had these little ear techs. And I was like, "There's no way those are going to work." I was looking at them, and they worked fine. I mean, nothing went horribly wrong. So, but I would say that the Hollylands are probably what I'd lean on over the Solidcams if you can afford it. I don't know what the price difference is between. If they're close to the same price, I'd probably go with the second or third generation Hollylands. Next question.
Hasmik Kajar is back. Cape Town, South Africa. Zoom client update. Now lets original sound remain on when exiting Zoom. Comments.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, this is, I don't see an option for that. So, Hasmik, I don't know if you just tried it and know that to be true, or if there's an option. But I will say, while I'm in here and looking at them again, as they tend to do, they've kind of changed some of the wording, particularly with their audio options. So even though we have original sound for musicians, which we've had for a while, and then within that, an additional step-up option for high-fidelity music mode, and separately, but now it doesn't seem to be mutually exclusive. There's a toggle for live performance audio. What's different, and I don't know if it just changed, but the wording for that, which Alex, maybe you know that, I believe it still just means the ultra low latency version. But now it says to activate this feature, at least 2 participants must enable that option. It used to be every participant needed to have that enabled for it to work. The other thing I just see real quick is that you can there's an option to sync the buttons on AirPods. But first, Hasmik, if you know, is there an option I'm missing?
Yeah, no, I saw a post from Andy in Discord around Zoom announcing this, and he's given a little workaround on how to get to that feature, so that you don't have to switch on your original sound every time after you exit and relaunch Zoom.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, if you want, I'll leave the meeting and check. No, I'm kidding.
So it does look like that we can leave it on, and which is huge. I mean, a lot of us have want it on all the time. The most dangerous part of this, with great power comes great responsibility, and that the challenge that you have when you people leave original sound on, of course, is that they're going to leave it on and they're going to leave all the settings on and they're going to be able to have open mics and there won't be any echo cancellation. There won't be any noise reduction. This is why they turned it off all the time. Maybe you turn it on and they're like, well, professionals will know that, oh, I got to turn it on. And sometimes I will say that a lot of the noise reduction, you have to, at this point, Zoom has gotten so good at some of the noise reduction that they have there that we don't turn original sound on automatically. So we used to, in the early days, we turned original sound on automatically. We don't do that now. We listen. We have someone turn the original sound on. We have them turn it off. And we decide which sounds better because it's gotten very, especially the personalized audio noise reduction and other things are so powerful that I wouldn't say they're quite as good as noise assist inside of the sound devices. So that for those of us who have that, but they're pretty close. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Two things. I mean, depending on where this workaround is or how this eventually is made available to us, I think only people who understand it and understand the need for it potentially will enable it, Alex, to your point. But also it'll be interesting to see, this made me think, I've been trying for a while to get Zoom Cuts, their Apple Shortcuts extension to help with this, because I still forget to turn it on. So I've been trying to get a good system of using Zoom Cuts to enable it for me, and that hasn't worked out great. So it will be interesting to see what, if any, future Zoom Cuts has, if as an aside, if we ever see that integrated into the client, which would be awesome.
Go ahead, Hosman. Oh, can't hear you, Hosman.
Yeah, I'll just quote Andy. He said the audio profiles like original sound are persistent between meetings.
Yep,
the in-meeting setting.
Yeah, I don't want to quote Andy on the show.
No, sorry. Okay, there is a flyover menu that you can go through it so that there's a suggestion of how to do the settings because the menu system is also changed.
Great. The next question.
Next one comes to us from Paul Wallace in Austin, Texas. How does the Hollycom H1 could access and avoid frequency interference at being deployed at a large event like ACL Fest or a big political rally? And he's got a link to Hollyland's product.
I wouldn't do that. Like so ACL Fest is going to be a big event. There's a bunch of frequency coordinators. I mean, that's the kind of place where there's a frequency coordinator. They're going to have things that how they want it, and what they don't want is somebody else coming in with it. So the only way that you'd be able to do it to avoid interference is to find out who the frequency coordinator is. And make sure that you talk to them about what frequencies are available and how to manage that. So if you don't know who the frequency coordinator is, you should not use a wireless system in a large event. There's so many things that can go wrong, and oftentimes they'll come right up to you and go, "Hey, what are you doing?" so it's frequency coordination is a huge deal. As you get to a larger event, you got to know who it is, or you shouldn't use it. Now, next question.
Roscoe Jones, Madison, Indiana. What are the pros and cons of headphones with connectors on both ends of the connection cable? More common in the 3.5 millimeter world.
Go, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I had my first pair that was a V-Moda headset. And of course, it's a pro and a con. And that is if you walk away from your desk with your headphones on, it'll disconnect from the headset without ruining the cord or the other end. The one thing that I do like about it, with V-Moda, when I got the headset with two cables. One was a TRS to TRRS with a microphone insert in between, and then the second cable was just basically a TRS to TRS. That way I could plug it into a regular stereo without a problem. I find that a lot of TRRS cables are always problematic when you plug them in, and on the same end, I find if you get a TRRS to TRS adapter, some of them don't work because Android had a different specification on TRRS than iOS did, and you got to figure out which configuration that your box is set up to.
Go, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we've been talking about previously. If your coiled cable goes bad and you don't want to restore it, you can use this. Jeffrey brings up a good point. There are these these magnetic breakaways, which I guess you could put in line also, and they make a 3.5 millimeter version that a lot of people use for their in-ears at the other end, also just to quickly step away from your desk without taking them out. So that's a good point. It also really depends on how careful you are with your gear. I like it. I have some headphones, some of my noise canceling Bluetooth big headphones can go either Bluetooth but also plug in. The trick is sometimes those connectors are recessed, and so just any old cable won't work. You need one that that will fit particularly, and sometimes it's a little bit tricky. But if you're careful with your gear, it's great because you can replace the connector. If you're really not careful with your gear and you violate all of Chris's headphone rules, then it's going to be a horrible experience because it's always going to be loose, and you're going to have to jiggle it the right way to get it to work, and it's just going to go bad.
Yeah, I use I have the AudioTechnica M50Xs, and those are one of those ones where the headphones pop out, and it's great for packing them and everything else to not have that leverage on that area. I think they last a lot longer because of that. Same thing with the I think I've another AudioTechnica one that we use, but all of them I tend to focus on having connectors on both ends. I won't buy headsets that I can't take the headset out, and it's largely because I've worked in a lot of environments where the headset cables have gotten torn, ripped, cut, beat up, whatever. And so as a result, I only buy ones that I look specifically like, can I take this out of the headset? And that's why I don't use the Sonys. So is that I have to rewire it. And so I always want to know that I can just buy another cable and plug it in. And usually I have a backup sitting somewhere that I can simply just plug in. And I know that, that's probably more important to me than I don't really view anything that I listen to in headphones as accurate. So I don't because I usually am in a near field environment or a large field environment, and so the headset doesn't mean anything to me. So I just needed to make sure that I can put it on and it's clear and I can do what I need to do
with a next cable.
No frilly cables and no cables that are attached to the headset. I'm more logistical than anything else. Next question.
Hasmuk is back from Cape Town. Now that I have Unity on my local area network with a server and 5 users, how do I bring in remote talent and offsite production teams?
I think you're going to need Unity Connect. So the thing that the next step for you is that you need a Unity Connect server, and that's going to give you connections to. We use it to connect to our FreeSpeaks, or we use it so for instance, when I'm remote, like we did a show, the Spinal Tap, post show, whatever, and there's a whole team that's down there at the Man's Chinese Theater, and they're doing what they're doing, and they have their headsets on, and I'm on Unity. When I push that button, I'm talking to people in their headsets. So we do that through a linkage through Unity Connect, and so that's the next step for that, and that can tie into those channels and then make them available to other audio processing. Go ahead, Hasmuk.
Yeah, I introduced Unity about 2-3 weeks ago, and even though the entire production team is in one site, in one office, it's been quite liberating using Unity, to do the talkback. And I think that's why we also looked at the Yamaha that supports Dante. So not sure if that matters.
And Mickey said that there's no need for Unity Connect for just intercom, but I don't know how to do that without Unity Connect. So Mickey, you'll have to let us know, because if you're just doing just the output of a channel, it's fine. What we're doing is tying it into specific PLs. So we have maybe it's just that the way that we execute it is much more complicated than the way than just if you're just doing an audio in and out from something, then that would work. I think that if you wanted to be able to attack specific channels, I think it'd be more complicated. Next question.
Next one comes from Paul Wallace in Austin, Texas. Paul wonders, why is there a radical split in the reactions to Frame.io's version 4 forced transition and a storm of protests on Reddit?
Go ahead, Bill.
I saw this, so I went to take a look on Reddit. Most of them are from about 8 months ago when Reddit 4.0 was first dropped, and I guess there was a lot of interface changes in how it operates in the back end. That's a problem we've always had. People get really used to a particular thing, particularly if it's something that they use to make their living every day, and there's a natural resistance to it. I will say I was surprised at the vociferous pushback on that. But I looked downstream to see whether this was continuing or not, and there was another flurry 2 or 3 months ago and a slight flurry just a month and a half or 2 months ago, so I guess they haven't addressed everything. I will say that since Adobe absorbed Frame, there has been kind of a split in what used to be the Frame.io huge body of users. It's really good as a service, but some people like it and some people don't, so that's what I saw.
Jeff, real quick.
Yeah, I'll just say, as Bill said, this happens with any software release. And I will say, to call it forced, I mean, this has been the slowest, most gradual, gentle update I've ever seen. So I just encourage people to look at the features.
Go ahead, Chris, real quick.
It doesn't sound likely that people were complaining about anything on Reddit. I don't know about the veracity of this question.
Well, I mean, it's hard to know because no one ever complains about Reddit in Reddit. Reddit's usually just full of flowers and people really talking about how much positivity. If you want to go and feel like life is great, just go to Reddit and just run through the fields of flowers and see how it goes. So we have some sad news that we wanted to spend the last 15 minutes on for the show. Our good friend, one of the OGs of office hours, John Pretto, had passed away. So he passed away, I believe, yesterday. And John was such a core part of office hours for so long, and some of you who have come here didn't see him, but he was here every day, and his health got to a point where he couldn't be on the show. But even when his health was failing and he was having a really hard time, he was here as much as he possibly could be here every single day. Other than, I think, there was some point in time where John was actually at more of the office hours meetings than I was, and so, he was really, and it's not just his participation and what he brought to the conversation. It was really, so many things in the back end that he was constantly working on. There's so much data points that we have. There's things that we would not remember or know about office hours if John hadn't been building databases of who was here and what was, it's all of this stuff that is very core to what we do. And just an incredible friend, and a friend of office hours, friend of myself, friend of many people here on the panel. And I just was going to give anybody who here wants to say anything about it, go ahead and raise your hand in the panel discussion. But I just, he was just such an amazing person, and really we just had, there was so much that he did for office hours. We had a great year and a half ago at NAB. We had this incredible dinner that he put on that, really brought us all together. And I felt like John really got office hours. Like it was something that was really passionate for him, but it was something that he really and really just was just a really great person to be part of. And we don't know what the funeral plans are. We're going to let you know if there's something online. We will we're gonna find out where. Maybe we'll watch it in after hours. We've had a handful of people, pass. It's an interesting thing to feel so close to people around the world. And John is actually one of the office hours members that I've actually met in person. And just such an incredible person. And so we were just really, we just wanted to let everybody know, to make sure that everybody knows that a really good friend of office hours has moved on to the next step. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't been around for a long time, it was John's rocket launch, I think, that was the one moment when we moved from being an all-virtual group to seeing what it was like to hang around with office hours people in an actual physical environment. And it was such an amazing event. We were all out at Gene Lake. For those of you who didn't know, John's passion, one of his passions in life was rocketry.
One of John's passions.
Yeah, one of John's passions.
The one thing is that John played full out in a lot of different directions. And I mean, just the lighting on his house was next level. So I don't know if anyone has any pictures of that, but anyway, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We were coming out of the pandemic. The vaccine was out and things like that. So we were starting to think, well, maybe we can get together. And so we heard about John doing his qualifications for these huge rockets. This rocket that we launched was like taller than any of us by a substantial margin. And it was the arrival in Las Vegas and getting out there on Gene Lake in the desert and just literally being in each other's presence that I think formed the initial, for me, nucleus of, I know these people virtually, but these are real people. Mm-hmm. And the warmth, the companionship, the camaraderie, the I will help. I mean, everybody out there who came from the office hours core had this same spirit of, how can I help you? I'm not here for money. I'm not here for glory. I'm just here because I've seen you people in office hours. I know you're people like me who think the same way, and let's all get together and do something magnificent. And it was so extraordinary because here we had this big rocket launch, and Vienna's off on the other side of the world, and we had experts on space from there, and we did a real virtual onto the web, amazing live show with satellite connections from out in the middle of nowhere. And I think a lot of us realized the potential for community really coming together and doing something very powerful. And we saw the promise of what our virtual little thing was doing. So we're all there's a little chunk of our heart that's missing today because John was there at the beginning and was a big part of the heart of this organization.
You go ahead, Hosman.
Yeah, when I joined office hours in March, April 2020, I watched the show for a couple of weeks. And then, like Mike was to Tony, John was probably played a similar role, encouraging me to participate or ask questions and not be shy about being involved. And I think he had a South African connection somewhere, so he was quite interested. And he also has a medical folks in his family. So I think he kind of resonated with a lot of that with me. But I mentioned in office hours during COVID that I've been able to get brios quite freely. So John was the first to ask me can you please ship this brio to me? Are you sure you can get the brio? Will it get here on time? And I had to give him assurance that yes, it will get on time. Yes, it is the genuine product. And I sent it to him, and in 4 days it was in Las Vegas, and he was so happy, so thrilled, because at that time the brio was like looking for gold. That actually gave a lead to Alex. So I became known as the mafioso for securing brios in South Africa. And
we had to get 20 of them. And after John did it, I had to tell a client, I was like, I saw John do it, and I told a client, I was like, I think I can get these brios,
I know a guy
shipped in group. I know a guy in South Africa, and every time after that, after John had kind of broken the new ground and I had figured it out, my client would go every time we were short on something, because during COVID, they were like, are you going to go to your guy in South Africa, to get these for you? And but John was the one that kind of figured that all out. Yeah, go ahead, Keenan. Oh, go ahead, Hosma. Go ahead, you have more.
No. So I think the other thing he did is also encourage me to continue producing training videos, and he was extremely supportive of the manner in which we produced it, and very enthusiastic about it. So I'm really sorry I didn't get to Las Vegas.
Good, Keenan.
I don't know where to start. That's tough. you know, I guess I can blame Fenwick because in after hours, Pretto was talking about his rocket launch, and I made this weird comment and said, we should stream it like SpaceX does. I think we could do this. I knew nothing about video production, well, a little bit. And Fenwick kind of jumped behind me, and then we ganged up on Pretto. And I don't think our veracity was matched with his because John was like a little kid. He knew we can do this. It's a challenge. That was the one thing that, you know, I see from Pretto is he always challenged everybody, all of us, to do more, to stream from a dry lake bed 7 miles from cell service when Starlink is still in its infancy and having people come from literally all over the world, either virtually or, you know, in the case of Tuomo spent a grip of money to fly himself to that site. And, you know, for me, Pretto knew what I was going through. You guys all knew that. Everybody knew, you know, sitting in an empty house after you lost everything, it changed the trajectory of a lot of people's lives. Even if it's just somebody's having a bad day in office hours, and Pretto was the guy that, you know, bumped you up, made a funny joke. I mean, his jokes were the perfect, dirty, off-color, poorly timed, but sometimes it was just what you needed. And yeah, so I'm super fortunate to move out here. And Fenwick and I got to go spend some time with John just not too long ago. And I got to drive him to a doctor's appointment. And, you know, it sucks, but I'm happy my friend is no longer suffering. And as my Facebook post went, Pretto crossed the Kármán line yesterday. So his goal to space, he's there, and he's running databases for us up there now. So
go Jeffrey.
The first time that I interacted with John, because I met him through office hours, he came back to me. The one line he says, "Stop saying 'and just like that.'" And little extra stuff if you didn't know how to end a sentence, and we talked about how to present in situations where, you know, like with any type of presenter would suggest to you. So it was interesting because he was very open in telling you what he thought. And it was great because I learned a lot from him. Plus, we talked back and forth, and he got me some business when I most needed it, in doing some editing and doing some other things. We were going to do a couple web pages and everything like that, but before everything started to happen with him. And so, of course, with I wasn't there for the launch because I couldn't be there, but at NAB, afterwards I went and visited him, and we went to the Great American Pub, where we saw the rocket, which is hanging, as far as I know, still hanging at that pub. So if anybody is in the Vegas area, going over to Henderson to the Great American Pub, you can see that rocket, and maybe we should at the next NAB.
I don't know if the rocket's there anymore.
If it's not there, then I get it. But yeah, if it is there, then maybe we should go visit it during NAB.
Go, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm a numbers stats guy, so he had me at take a look at these graphs, and I was trying to find and if anyone knows, I'd love to see it. I was trying to find which one or more of the episodes where John just blew me away with all of the things, all of the stats he was tracking about the show, and all the different graphs and everything he was able to pop up. And let's also not forget, I mean, does anyone know? I forget which kind of bird, but, you know, I love that you would see him talking, you know, about these very serious technical issues sometimes. And there's either, you know, what?
That's a conure, I think, or a lovebird, one of the two on his shoulder. That was a part of his presence.
And it was either sitting on his shoulder or just randomly walking around in the background.
It was definitely part of the show.
I just loved.
Yes, you'd be talking, the little bird would come flying around making noise. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. So, Jeffrey, the rocket is no longer there. Keenan has it in his possession. And Keenan and I have been scheming about something to do special with his rocket. And yeah, I think it was like 10 or 12 feet tall. The thing about Hosmic, what you said, I think you said something about John seemed to have a South African connection. And I'm not saying he did or he didn't, but I will say this, that John could make anybody feel like he had a connection with them. He was a little rough. He was a little crass, but the man had a heart of gold, and he could connect with anybody. And, Jeffrey, you were saying he found you some work when you really needed it. He was always doing stuff like that for people. He was always so giving. He had made some good business choices in his life and lived quite comfortably, but he was always looking out for other people. And yeah, he's going to be missed. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
When I heard the news, I was looking back through some of my DMs with John, and he was just so encouraging. Like every time I would be on and not been on for a while, it was like, great to see you here, man. It was just like amazing. And he sent me a shot of some of his early specs from the first year, and he had a 97% attendance rate.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was
number one. He was top of the list.
He was above me.
Yeah.
I come pretty often.
And
yeah.
This was less than a month into the start of office hours, this screen grab.
Yeah. So we wanted to pay tribute to just such a core person, incredible person in our community. And again, he's crossed the Kármán line, and we're gonna miss him. And we're going to leave you with a picture that reminds us of him. So, there you go. Thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow. I think we can roll that slate. Is there a slate? There's a slate down there. Oh, maybe we can't go to it. I was told that we're going to go to this picture. So, no, that's not what we're doing. Okay. So, sorry. This is there we go. There's John.
Alex, did you ever see John's database of participants?
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
He was like, it was like looking into your FBI file.
Yeah.
Somebody could pop in for one show and he would go, oh, there's a new face. And he'd grab a little screen grab of it, put it into the database, get their name.
I remember during shows that he wasn't there, and he'd email me. He's like, can you get a quick screen grab of this person? It's like, yeah, and then send it off to him.
It's incredible. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see you tomorrow. Some of you. All right. See you.